Welcome to the BEASTwriter Family, where social media engagement is encouraged. I am your host, Ryan Sakamoto, and we have the honor and privilege of having on the co-host, Derek Larger of Bring the Juice Colts podcast here on YouTube. If you guys don't know who these guys are, you guys got to get to know these guys because I've been following them, like I said, before our pregame show for many months. And I was like, you know what? I got to have these guys on my show. They know Colts football better than anyone. Derek Larger, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing great, man. Really beautiful weather outside. Good day. I'm ready to talk some Colts football.
I hope you are. And talk to people about that green screen and that nice stadium in the background there. That's dope.
Yeah, basically, I just got a green screen a couple days ago. I had bought it over a month earlier, but it took so long to get in. But long anticipated. I've been waiting so long because, I moved houses recently and where I record, I'm in a basement, and it had, I'm sure you've seen it, unfinished basement and everything, and everyone always gives me crap about it. So I was like, all right, I have to get a green screen. I'm tired of people flowing into my comments saying that my basement looks like the Dexter's basement. I've never watched Dexter, but I mean, that's what people called it. So we got beautiful Lucas Oil Stadium as a background, and I love it. I think it looks great.
Did you hear the news that ESPN just reported about they're taking bids now for the 2023 NFL Combine? I think that's a horrible idea because it's always been an Indy, man. That's been your guys' spot. And now I think it's becoming a bidding war. It's all about the money. Show me the Benjamins. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, I hate it. As somebody who, like you said, has been in Indianapolis now for over 20 years, almost over 30 years,
right?
And, has been – Indianapolis is one of those stadiums right near the middle of the country where, the majority of people can converge into one spot. It makes a lot of sense economic wise and everything else. I mean, this decision is terrible for the city of Indianapolis, not just, from a national media standpoint, but a financial standpoint. The amount of money that the Combine brings in from, the media and from news outlets and from these players who are coming to get workouts, it's like it sucks that it's leaving Indianapolis potentially for years to come.
Yeah, it is really disappointing. It's almost like the Senior Bowl leaving Mobile, Alabama, and all of a sudden they're somewhere else playing here in California.
Right.
That's weird.
Doesn't make much sense. Keep the tradition. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
There you go. I like that line of thinking. All right, let's go ahead and talk about your Colts. Right. I think, because I cover all 13 NFL teams, you guys have the best offensive line in the NFL, and it's really young. I mean, when you look around the other NFL teams, there's no one that compares to the Colts offensive line. You have Ryan Kelly, right? 2016 first-round pick, drafted number 18 overall. And then you roll that over. You have Quentin Nelson, the best interior guard in the NFL. I don't know if you saw my podcast with Randy Cross just yesterday, one of the best interior guards in all of football ever. He said Quentin Nelson was the best interior guard in the NFL. First round pick, obviously he drafted number 6 overall, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, number 6.
And in that same draft class, you guys rolled over in the second round, got Braden Smith, drafted number 37 overall or something out of Auburn, something like that. And you also have, obviously, now another first round pick, our first round gem and free agent coming off a torn ACL in Eric Fisher. So again, can you name another better offensive line than the players I just mentioned for the Indianapolis Colts?
I think a lot of people would mention the Browns right now. And, that's just with how high powered their running game is. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say their offensive line is better than ours, but, the way how talented their running back room is, that kind of makes up for it. But nevertheless, they are a top 3 offensive line. I'm not questioning that. You got Jedrick Willis over there on left tackle, and then they just acquired Jack Conklin in free agency last year. So your tackles, I mean, they have phenomenal tackles. But yeah, when it comes to the Colts offensive line, I mean, talk about a quarterback's biggest pet peeve when it comes to how much they like getting sacked, and Carson Wentz knows it better than anyone. Last year was sacked 50 times in 12 games, and now he's coming to a offensive line that over the last 2 years has given up less sacks than that. to the respective quarterbacks that they had, who were stationary by nature to the fullest extent. So, you talk about the guys like Quentin Nelson, I would argue is potentially the best offensive lineman in football. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's just related. I would potentially say when you talk about the impact of an offensive lineman, Quentin Nelson, from the moment he stepped on the Colts football field, was the most impactful offensive lineman that there was. Brought that nastiness, that determination to want to just go through people. I think that really rubbed off on a lot of the offensive line. I think it rubbed off very well on Ryan Kelly. And I love Ryan Kelly. I mean,
me too.
He dealt with a few injuries earlier in his career, but right now is, in my opinion, a top 3 center in the league. Braden Smith, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, was the only tackle last year to not allow a sack all of last year, and yet gets no recognition. I mean, this guy wasn't even an all-pro guy. I know that how they vote for that is crap, which I don't like it anyways. I mean, it's incredible that, the one guy that never gave up a sack all year is not an all-pro tackle, but nevertheless, there's that. And Eric Fisher, like you said, who was a first pick overall in 2013, now comes in to replace Costanzo, and people forget about Mark Lewinsky, who, is who I believe, and Cody believes this as well, is an above average right guard. And when your weakest link is an above average right guard, I mean, that's a pretty dang good offensive line.
Yeah, you would have to blame me because I have a year-end voting rights with the Pro Football Writers Association. I did not vote Braden Smith as a first-team All-Pro, but he is up there. He's, at the very least, he should be a Pro Bowl selection, right? And Pro Bowl is more of a household name. I think the All-Pro is more, it's kind of more credible. Even then, it's kind of like, but even then you can have your mishaps. But with that being said, Braden Smith, let's talk about him. Let's show him some love because, again, here in the BEASTwriter family, I said he's one of the best tackles, period, even if he plays on the right side. I mean, the guy is fundamentally sound. He's a true technician of the game. He doesn't get the love because of guys like Quentin Nelson, guys like Ryan Kelly. These guys are first-round picks. Now Eric Fisher is manning the blind side. So if the team has a good year, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, it's because we have Eric Fisher. Now he fills in for Anthony Costanzo. And it's like, what about Braden Smith? Well, he's coming up for a contract, right? He's coming out in that 2018 draft class along with guys like Darius Leonard, same draft class. Of the two guys, who would you prioritize first? Number one, that's my first question. And ultimately, do you think both these guys will get re-signed when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite incredible that Braden Smith doesn't get the love. And, ironically enough, he most of the time is facing the defense's best edge rusher. They've always said that Braden Smith was basically the weakest link, and they would always attack him, but yet he's still doing things at an elite level, just not getting recognized. I believe that Darius Leonard's going to get signed first.
Okay.
Just because I've heard the most news about him. I've heard the deal has already been, kind of talked about. They're just finishing up the little details and whatnot. But I believe both of these guys are definitely going to get re-signed because Darius Leonard is, the heart and soul of your defense, with including of DeForest Buckner. And then Braden Smith, when you're talking about an elite tackle like that, even if he's a right tackle, an elite right tackle, you need to keep a guy like that. And, the great thing is with Braden Smith, due to the fact he doesn't get as much recognition, you might be able to get him for a cheaper deal than guys you would get like Quentin Nelson's about to get here in the next year or two. And, I think his deal will be less than what Darius Leonard's going to get, which I think is insane because normally I would value a tackle over a linebacker. But, I do believe both of these guys are going to get signed at some point soon.
That's awesome. I don't think GM Chris Ballard is a top 5 GM in my book. I don't care what people say. People are like, oh, he's cheap. Well, cheap necessarily doesn't mean bad. It just means he's smart with his money. Yep. Like, he signs players, he drafts players, and keeps those players. They're not going anywhere. That's the last thing you want to do is have someone like DeForest Buckner go to your team like the Niners did. Let's talk about that. That was my very first podcast episode here in the BEASTwriter family. I said that was the worst move the 49ers could make. And everyone was like, oh, you're just a hater. We're going to get Javon Kinlaw. This is before Javon Kinlaw was even drafted by the team. I said, Javon Kinlaw's going to struggle. He did. And that's it. It's going to hurt Eric Armstead. It did. Basically, looking back, I said the team should have kept. I don't know if you know this, but I put it out there. I said the team should have kept DeForest Buckner. What they should have did is got rid of Richard Sherman, saved the team $12.9 million in cap savings because Buckner was still playing on that 5th-year option. So you're buying yourself time, and you don't have to pay him right away. Just like with Quentin Nelson, you're buying yourself extra time, an extra year to kind of work the salary cap how you see fit. He then gets traded to the Indianapolis Colts, your Indianapolis Colts. Tell us about the impact that DeForest Buckner has had on that defensive line and that defense overall. And in your opinion, is this one of the top 5 best trades for the Indianapolis Colts all time?
I mean, when it's all said and done, it might actually be. I mean, it's ironic enough that you say that was the worst move that they could have made, and everyone was saying, no, it's not true. Ironically enough, Bleacher Report came out and said that was the worst move that the Colts made all offseason, was getting DeForest Buckner for the 13th overall pick. And, you know, a lot of Colts Nation, including myself, was saying we were going to draft Javon Kinlaw at number 13. Now, when I look back on it now and I say, am I glad I got DeForest Buckner for a first-round pick over Javon Kinlaw? I'm absolutely flabbergasted that 49ers let that happen because, I mean, I'll be honest, as much as I love Darius Leonard and I ride or die for that guy through everything, DeForest Buckner last year was the most important defensive player on our roster as a defensive tackle, was the most important, led the team in sacks. And not to mention, in the few games he was out due to, COVID and a few other things, he was dealing with a foot at some point. Ironically enough, in the games that he missed, our rush defense was atrocious. Yeah. We got absolutely dominated up front by the Tennessee Titans, where Derrick Henry ran for 200 yards. I mean, in the first match, Derrick Henry had 105 against us, but it was often in short spurts. He'd have a couple 15 or 20-yard runs and then not do anything else the rest of the game because DeForest Buckner was there in the middle. I mean, DeForest Buckner was just the missing piece that defense really needed to get better. And it was funny because I did have a bunch of 49ers fans coming at me on Twitter in the first early weeks saying, Javon Kinlaw's stats are better than DeForest Buckner. I guess we won the trade. And then sure enough, after that Minnesota game, DeForest Buckner just started doing what he did and, Kinlaw fell off. So, I guess I won that argument in the end. But yeah, DeForest Buckner has been so great. He's been worth every penny that we got him for $21 million a year for the next 4 years, and front loading that contract, which is what Chris Ballard likes to do. It's going to save us a lot of money on the back end of his deal, but he's, in my opinion, been the second best defensive tackle in the league besides Aaron Donald. So, I mean, that was a really, really good move by Chris Ballard. And it was actually the biggest move that Chris Ballard has made in his tenure here in Indianapolis so far. And that's why everybody was so freaked out about it. Cause that's something that Chris Ballard normally doesn't do.
Right. Definitely DeForest Buckner is definitely a top 5 defensive tackle. I'd put Cameron Hayward in there. I put Stephon Tuitt in there. I think those guys are very underrated, but no, you made a great point. DeForest Buckner is one of those players that just makes everyone around him better. And I think that's because I'm a firm believer in building teams from the inside out, not the outside in. When we spoke to here in the BEASTwriter family, Randy Mueller, he agreed. He said, you know what? Like, you want to build teams from the inside out, not the outside in, because at the end of the day, it's the defensive line that creates all the pressure and misses up the timing for the wide receiver. So that helps out the secondary. So if you do it the reverse, that's not going to work, because eventually if you play flag football, odds are that wide receiver is going to get open. You have all time to make those progressions, your second, third, seventh progression if you don't get a good pass rush. So I agree with you 110%. Now, I think 49er fans now are looking back saying, damn, we should have kept DeForest Buckner. The ironic thing about this is they were like, well, he's not worth $21 million a year. Now I said, you know what? He's worth $21 million a year, because how many DeForest Buckners are there? And then they go, well, he's not Aaron Donald. He's not getting Aaron Donald money and then I go, my argument was, well, who's Aaron Donald? There's only one Aaron Donald in the NFL period ever. So just because a player is not on that exact level doesn't mean he's not warranted similar money. So that's what the thing I was going with. And it turns out, DeForest Buckner, all pro. What are you going to say about that? Right?
Yep, exactly. I'll take it.
Yeah, you'll take it. All right, let's talk about the AFC South. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans that you just spoke about with Derrick Henry now, they now have Julio Jones there, teaming up with Brown, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is your concerns there, having Julio Jones with another healthy year of Ryan Tannehill? Obviously, they have a new offensive coordinator, but do you think they're still the biggest threat to the Indianapolis Colts?
In this division right now, yes, obviously they are the biggest threat. I mean, that's not saying much just due to the fact of who else is in the division, when it comes to the Jags, who, in my honest and humble opinion, I'm actually kind of concerned with what Jacksonville is actually building, especially on the offensive side. It just all depends if those pieces work out. And the Texans, who, even with Deshaun Watson, really has not been a big threat to Indianapolis for many years. So, Tennessee continues to run with us, the same records usually year in and year out, and get about the same spot in the playoffs. At least this last year, that's what it was. But
yeah,
it's when it comes to that offense right now, I mean, it's no denying that they are loaded with special talent, right?
Yeah.
They got two receivers that you could argue are easily top 10, two top 10 wide receivers, no question about it. And then, in my opinion, the best running back in football right now. And then, a good offensive line and in my opinion, average quarterback. And that's really all you need when you got talent around everything else. But I'm still a little concerned with them in regards to, I don't think that adding Julio Jones necessarily made them the elite level that a lot of Titans fans believe they did. They did lose a bunch of wide receivers, and they lost their best red zone target in Jonnu Smith to the New England Patriots this offseason. He was their target in the red zone. And, as great as Julio Jones is, Julio Jones has not been a red zone threat with the Atlanta Falcons for the last 3 years. His touchdown numbers show that. Not necessarily sure if that's his fault or if that's Atlanta's fault for not using him properly. But nevertheless, he's never really been a huge red zone threat, at least the last couple of years concerned. So it'll be interesting because, it depends on how his health is and whether or not he makes it all the way through the end. But it certainly is scary to know that, that my corners are going to have to go up against those monsters over there, because we've certainly had our struggles with AJ Brown, and I'm not looking forward to adding Julio Jones to that mix.
I will say this: the Teron Davenport, TD, a good friend of mine, ESPN NFL Nation reporter that covers the Tennessee Titans, he was on the BEASTwriter Family show. We spoke about that Julio Jones trade, and one thing he talked about was, you brought up a good point in Jonnu Smith. He was really high on Anthony Firkser. He thinks that he has, the best hands on arguably the best hands on the team in terms of, catching the ball. He said he catches everything his way. Anthony Firkser, I guess, is a guy who they think that can step in Jonnu Smith's place. Now, will he replicate that type of production? Time will tell, but they really are high, according to what he says or what he sees in Anthony Firkser. So that'll be an interesting matchup to watch when Tennessee Titans play the Indianapolis Colts. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about some of these other things that are going on. We talked about the strengths and weaknesses of the Indianapolis Colts. Let's go on the weaknesses. We've already talked about the strengths. Let's talk about the defensive backs, the secondary. What is going on there? And do you think that they can actually hold up against these highly powered offenses where they're now spreading out wide, going now 11 personnel more than usual? What are your thoughts there?
Well, the secondary has certainly had its struggles, even amongst, some of the good players that we actually do have in the secondary. I believe that, and you brought up a good point earlier in this podcast, that we were saying that the defensive line really makes the difference when it comes to the corners. You build from the inside out, not the outside in. Well, the defensive line has really been the cornerstone of that, especially for Indianapolis. We saw at the end of the year, the secondary was getting beat a lot more often due to the fact that, the defensive line wasn't getting as much pressure on the quarterback anymore. And that's why Ballard went out and drafted 2 defensive ends early in this draft this last year to make sure that we could make up for that. But, Xavier Rhodes being brought back was a great thing. Xavier Rhodes,
Right.
who was a top 10 corner last year, really improved and showed everyone, especially the Minnesota fans who were hating on him, that he still had it all along. It was just he needed a new spot. So It's great to see him doing that. And we have the best slot corner in football in Kenny Moore. Not many corners put up the stats that this guy does, but he never gets the recognition because, he's a slot corner. People seem to think it's its own position and that it doesn't need to be mentioned amongst the corner group, which is weird. But, you got some young safeties, Julian Blackmon, who, came into that season hurt and wasn't in great football shape at the end of the year. It's kind of how it was. And Kahari Willis, who's, again, a third-year guy, still young, still learning. He improved drastically from year 1 to year 2. It's just ultimately that third corner spot that really concerns me. Very, very concerns me because Rock Ya-Sin, who we drafted in 2019, was targeted the most by opposing quarterbacks because they knew they could get a mismatch on him. He's not very disciplined when he gets beat. And, the backups to it, TJ Carey was good for a limited time, but even TJ Carey had his weaknesses on the deep ball. And, Isaiah Rodgers was a rookie last year, so I didn't expect him to really do too much. And Marvell Tell, who opted out of the 2020 season due to COVID, he's coming back. We think he has a chance. The safeties that we have, I'm happy with them. They're young. They're explosive. I love the veteran leadership of Xavier Rhodes. He shows he still has it. And Kenny Moore is one of the best corners in the league. But, with that secondary, if you have one weak spot in the secondary, offenses will take advantage of it.
Yeah, Kenny Moore is a very good slot cornerback. I think he's almost on the level like guy like Mike Hilton, who was on the Pittsburgh Steelers, now with the Cincinnati Bengals. K'Wan Williams is still good when healthy with the San Francisco 49ers. And then also Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from the New Orleans Saints. They use him a lot in the slot, even though he's listed as a free safety, strong safety. But Kenny Moore is a really good player. I don't know why more teams or more people don't show these guys love, because you're right. They look at the slot cornerback position and like, is that even a position? It's right. Like these guys are on the field 65% of the time. It's more of a base defense now. So when you look at the Monday Night Football starting lineups and they're announcing their names, I think the slot cornerback should be mentioned because odds are they're on the field, not that nose tackle or not that defensive tackle. So yeah, you make a great point there. This is great stuff, man, that you provide. Again, if you guys don't follow Derek Larger and also Cody at Bring the Juice Colts podcast, look at his shirt. Look at his shit. It says "Got Juice." What does it say? "Got Juice," and this is
Bring the Juice Colts podcast, established 2019.
And you can purchase those on your team store, I presume.
We're gonna work on that. We're working on it. Cody made it specifically for each of us, so we could each have one. But we're probably going to make that into a shirt because I've heard some people say they want these.
Dude, all you have to do is make it into a shirt, take the pre-orders, and then that way you already made your money back. I'm serious.
There you go.
Because I have a clothing line business. This is what you do. You hype it up, right? People are going to want it. Just like when I have BEASTwriter Family shirts that I'm launching. I already took pre-orders on those. And again, the price point will be the price point because the value of the shirt and the quality of it, people love it and they want to support you. Now you can send super chats, you can send super stickers, but the exposure of merchandise, look at it. If someone wears your swag, that's hella cool. That's dope, right?
Like,
whoa, that's cool. Who are you? Because a lot of times we don't know who's on our streams. We just see the avatar. And a lot of times those avatars are not real people. It's just whatever, or it's blank. So it's kind of cool to put a face to a name, especially if they don't hop on our live stream. So yeah, no, having t-shirts, marketing yourself that way, I think that's the perfect way to go because, it just shows the viewers want to support you. And they want to find other ways to support you other than just sending you a super chat sticker here or there. So I think that's really cool if you can launch a t-shirt and really, really bring out that, I don't know, that family vibe, I guess you would say in your own community. So that's a really, really cool thing you got going. I'll definitely purchase one if you guys come out with one. Let's go ahead and talk about GM Chris Ballard. All right. I like Chris Ballard. I don't know him personally, never met the guy personally, but I do like the way he operates his team, building teams from the inside out, not the outside in, being frugal with his money, not necessarily frugal in a bad way, but in a good way, because he only makes power play moves for guys like DeForest Buckner if he knows that the return on investment is well worth the risk. So with that being said, how happy are you with GM Chris Ballard, who came to the team, if I'm not mistaken, in 2017? And what are your thoughts on him as the team's GM moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, Chris Ballard, a phenomenal, phenomenal guy. I got the opportunity to speak with him on a Zoom call last year. Due to COVID, we couldn't go to training camp, but they allowed a lot of Colts influencers to, interview the GM and the head coach. So I got a chance to talk with him and ask him a couple questions, which is great. I mean, just the amount of stuff that Chris Ballard has had to deal with, yet has put this team in a position to which it's able to thrive moving forward. I mean, think about it. He came in to Indianapolis knowing Andrew Luck was going to be the franchise quarterback moving forward. That was the plan. And in 2017, when he first took the job, Andrew Luck wasn't the quarterback that year due to the fact that he had destroyed his shoulder the previous year. So he had Jacoby Brissett in 2017. 2018 has a fully healthy Andrew Luck for the first time. They went to the playoffs. They were facing the Chiefs in the second round and just came up short, but things looked great. They had their offense. They just got to build. And then obviously 2019 happens. The retirement announcement comes out and then has to go with Jacoby Brissett again, his backup for the whole season. Then has to rely on Phillip Rivers and all of these things. So, he has never had a time where other than 2018, when he definitively sat here and said, this guy is going to be my franchise quarterback moving forward. And, a lot of GMs would falter under that kind of pressure to be able to figure that kind of question out. But he has done such a great job of building this team at the points that it matters, from the offensive line to the defensive line, and getting guys best player available at positions that help make your team last in January rather than just in October. And I'm really glad that Chris Ballard is the GM of my team. I could not be happier, and I am so glad that we're going to have him around for a while.
No, he's a really, really good GM. I said top 5 GM. I'm not playing around that. GM Kevin Colbert's up there with the Steelers. A few other guys, obviously Baltimore Ravens have one, Eric DeCosta. But yeah, you guys got lucky. Now let's talk about that. Best player available versus reaching for need. We had Randy Mueller, who was on here, obviously the former NFL GM of the New Orleans Saints, obviously was a VPOP with the Seattle Seahawks. He was a firm believer in building teams from the inside out, like we just talked about. But more importantly, when it came to the draft, he's like, yeah, you don't want to reach for need, diminishing the value of the pick. Because when you do that, you look at your roster at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, we have a lot of depth on our team, but this depth on our team are not even starter material. So yeah, we have depth, but it's not good depth. And I thought that was hilarious because that's true. Because when you keep reaching for needs, like, oh yeah, it was a need-based pick. And it's like, yeah, that's why you're going to be out after 2-3 years in the NFL. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you have on your roster. You don't diminish that pick by reaching for a player based on need. Because otherwise, who knows if that player is going to pan out? We don't know if any player is going to pan out for that matter. But now you're just diminishing your percentage of that player panning out because you're reaching for a player that's not a scheme fit, that basically is just a need-based pick overall. So, yeah, Chris Ballard, man, you guys are so lucky. I'm kind of jealous, but it is what it is. John Lynch is not a bad GM. I just don't think he's one of the best GMs. Now, he's a top 10 GM, obviously, which is pretty damn good. All right, so let's go ahead and stick with – we always talked about the front office, the strengths and weaknesses of the team. Let's talk about the upcoming season. Where do you see the Colts going this year, and will they finish better than last year?
Man, I mean, even last year, really disappointing how it went. But I would argue outside of even in the Super Bowl terms, I would say honestly the best game in the playoffs and Super Bowl combined, the Colts gave the best game when they faced the Buffalo Bills, where it came down to the last few seconds. I would argue that was the best game in the entire playoffs. And a lot of Bills Mafia, which I love Bills Mafia now because, a lot of them were very nice to us when we talked about facing the Bills in the playoffs, a lot of them gave me a lot of crap. They said, no, this Bills team's going to destroy you guys. Like, it's just not possible that you can stay with us. And sure enough, I mean, the Colts had a chance to win that game. They should have won that game the way they played, but ultimately a few mistakes happened. But it really this year all depends on Carson Wentz, on how he performs and everything else. I have said, a 10-7, 11-6 season to me was pretty plausible. It just depends how injuries and everything go. And I think, 10-7, 11-6 might be fringe, playoff caliber sort of thing. We'll see how it goes. But I think this team now has the potential to go further than what it did last year because it has a more explosive dynamic to it in regards to the quarterback now and with the defensive line additions that you've added. I think that is what allows you now to be that team that in December and January has that depth and now has those guys who can make more plays that will throw defenses and offensive lines off their game.
Correct. You make a great point. And again, people forget you guys have Jonathan Taylor, right? He's a beast in himself. But people also forget that Marlon Mack is returning from injury. That's a 1-2 combo that you don't want to mess around with. So stay tuned for that. And then again, you make up a great point. I'm going to piggyback on your analysis there. With Carson Wentz there, you can now roll play action pass more so than in years past. So with Carson Wentz there, with his arm strength, and if the running game can get going, which it will because they have the best offensive line, you can put 8, even 9 men in the box, and I would still place my bet on the Colts offensive line hitting that second level. With that being said, people say the wide receivers are not very strong, which I get. Obviously you have Paris Campbell, you have T.Y. Hilton coming back. He's not the all-pro player that he was in years past, but he's still a good veteran player. And then you also have obviously Michael Pittman. But ultimately, I think your offense is more going to be tailored off that play action pass and getting that run established first than in years past. Because at the end of the day, I know I like Jack Doyle, but I just don't see him being that guy that's going to run down the seams and then make catch after catch. He's a great inline blocker, but other than that, I don't see him being much more than a viable receiver, I guess you could say, as a security blanket. But yeah. With that being said, Colts are going to be 11. You said 11-6 or 10-7. I think that's spot on, and that's not because they're a bad team. I mean, 11-6 and 10-7 is pretty dang good.
They got a rough schedule this year.
They have a very tough. Rough. Yeah. So that's exactly, and that's what I wanted to say is like, because of the strength of schedule, I think winning 10 games it would be a win for the Indianapolis Colts when you look at it. All right, we're gonna wrap up this interview and this show with a BEASTwriter 2-minute drill. Basically, I ask you a series of questions. It's a this or that game, and you say the first thing that comes to your mind, and then explain your answer. Are you ready to do this?
All right, let's go.
This is pretty fun, man. Like this is how we end it. It's all good vibes only. And again, thank you for coming on to the show because at the end of the day, man, it's all about good vibes only here in the BEASTwriter family. I love talking football, and that's the thing. I can't have Niner fans come in here and talk about Colts football because I don't expect them to. But this is what you do. So I'm like, I'm going to have Derek on my shows just because I can talk Colts football. All right. I just love talking on all 32. All right, so we're getting to know Derek Larger in the BEASTwriter 2-minute drill, and here we go. Tacos or burgers?
Burgers. I've always loved meat and, burgers. I'll eat anywhere.
I'm a taco guy, maybe because I went to San Diego State, but I'm a huge taco guy. And here in South Bay, it's all tacos, all taquerias over here. Yeah. But I do love burgers too. You can't go wrong with burger. All right, lobster tail or crab?
Probably crab. I've always had crab legs, wherever I usually go with seafood restaurants. You always go to Red Lobster and always get the pound of crab legs or whatnot. But that's about it for me.
Dude, you talk about Red Lobster, man. Those freaking biscuits, bro.
Oh, my God.
Dude, if we go
get me started, man, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying not to think about those biscuits.
If I'm ever in your area, we'll go to Red Lobster. We'll pound those biscuits.
Oh my God, dude.
Thirds and fourths. No, we will go ham on that, dude.
You will eat so many of them, they'll have to charge us.
They're addicting. They're supposed to be that way. The expectation is 4 baskets per person. All right, dogs or cats?
Dogs. It's ironic because my family had a cat when we were younger because for my brother's birthday when he was 7. But I never wanted a cat. Always wanted a dog. But the parents did not ever want to get us a dog. But I always had dogs in the neighborhood that I used to dog sit for and used to always hang out with whenever I had the chance when I was younger. So I love dogs.
Awesome. Do you what kind of dogs do you like? Do you have a specific dog that you like, or a type of dog that you like, or just dogs in general?
Golden Retriever or a Lab. I love Labs. I've grown around Labs all my life. So, Labs are very easy for me to get along with.
Awesome. All right. The next one, pancakes or waffles?
Oh, man. You can never go wrong with a giant set of pancakes. You just can't go wrong. Just the butter, the syrup coming off onto the plate, doing all that. I mean, I can't get over those. Oh, man.
I have to agree with you. I have to agree with you 110%. But I am more of a waffle guy. Okay. I am more of a waffle guy. I love pancakes. I love them both, but I'm more of a waffle guy.
Gotcha.
All right. Here's a good one. You ready?
All right.
Netflix or Disney Plus?
Seeing as how I've never owned a Netflix account and I did once have a Disney Plus account, I'll go Disney Plus.
You had Disney Plus because you had Verizon, didn't you?
Yes. Yes, 100%. You know it. You know it.
Guess what happened to me too?
Oh man, Verizon got a lot of people with that bundle. Man, Disney Plus loved it.
Yeah. All right. Here's a good one: Randy Moss or Calvin Johnson?
Oh, you can't argue against primetime Randy Moss. I mean, the dude that literally has a catchphrase named after him. You got mossed, okay? I mean, you just can't. I was as much, and ironically enough, I used to watch a lot more Calvin Johnson. Maybe it's just because I'm younger that way, but Randy Moss, just in his day, I mean, just nobody could hang with him. So I'll go Randy.
I love how you're unbiased. You're a huge Colts fan, but unbiased in your analysis in selecting Calvin Johnson, or not selecting Calvin Johnson over Randy Moss. I agree with you. I think it's Randy Moss. Now, both of them are, obviously in the Hall of Fame, but when you break it down, how can you argue with Randy Moss? I mean, he was just, dude, that guy was just a monster. He was just a monster.
Yeah.
Calvin Johnson was a monster too. So that was a hard one. Okay, here's another hard one. I know it's coming. Tom Brady or Joe Montana?
Joe Montana, don't make me. This is bias. This is bias. Don't make me do that because the Colts nation never forgets what Tom Brady used to do to us all the time. Okay, Peyton Manning used to own him in the playoffs a couple years back when they were running those Super Bowl runs. But outside of that, I will never forgive Tom Brady for ruining my hopes and dreams on a lot of Sunday night football games growing up. No, I'll go Joe.
I said Tom Brady. I was a Niner fan growing up before covering the NFL media and being unbiased, but I still think Tom Brady is the standard. Not saying that Joe Montana isn't. Now I have here's some food for thought. I had some former 49ers players and some throwback players from that era who hopped on their show and they said Joe Montana, and for one specific reason. It's a good reason. They said Tom Brady would not have been able to last this long if the rules were an even playing field, because everything's dictated toward the offense these days. You can't hit the quarterback high. You can't hit him low. It's flag football. Actually, it's touch football.
Right.
It's not even a question because you're comparing different eras. So they said, how can you compare the two? Because at the end of the day, Tom Brady probably would have had his legs taken out by now. He'd probably been crippled. You know what I mean? He would have been
still LeBron James MJ era debate when it comes to football, right? Just two different eras, two different styles, two different ways the game were played. It's just how it is.
Exactly. All right. Last but not least, scary movie or funny movie?
I really hate scary movies. Ironically enough, I'm about to go watch The Conjuring this weekend with my girlfriend, but I can never turn down a funny movie. Dumb and Dumber, my dad's and I's favorite comedy movie. I mean, Jim Carrey, back in his heyday, funniest man alive back then. I will go for a funny movie.
Yeah, everyone likes Dumb and Dumber. I like Dumb. It's a classic. How can you go wrong with Dumb and Dumber?
Right.
Yeah, just we're laughing just thinking about the scenes. So he's telling me there's a chance.
Yeah, oh man, I hear that one a million times every day. Oh man, I loved when Harry was talking about breeding the dogs. I'm not gonna say the line because I don't want to be vulgar on your show, but yeah, that was the one time I first heard it. Oh my gosh, for 2 minutes I was on the floor laughing. I could not stop.
Well, Derek Larger, thank you so much for joining us on the BEASTwriter family and being part of our show. We really appreciate it. And I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to just say your 2 cents, say your insider analysis and your insights as it pertains to your Indianapolis Colts. If you want to follow this guy, you can follow him and Cody, who co-host. Obviously, show off your shirt, bro. Let people know where they can find you. It is, you see it right there, Bring the Juice Colts podcast. And it says Got Juice. They're on YouTube. If you go to my community page, I tagged them there, and I'll be hyping these guys up all day long. They're BEASTwriter approved because at the end of the day, that's what we want, quality engagement here. And in order for us to really gauge and talk about the teams that we like, we have to know what's going on with the other 31. So again, Derek Larger, thank you for tuning in, and mahalo for the love, bro.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. That was Derek Larger, everyone, and he was awesome. How can you say he wasn't? We're going to go ahead and talk about some other things that are happening around the NFL before I get going. Obviously, I got to hit the gym and get my workout in. But before I do that, I want to get to some of your guys' questions. All right. So if you have any questions, go ahead and link them up with me. I'm going to set up the live stream right here. So just call in on this live stream if you have any questions. I'm going to stay on the line for another 20 minutes or so before I hit the gym at 5 p.m. All right, as you can see, I was taking my pre-workout here, and we're ready to go. I am also getting booked out for my online coaching and my workout program sessions for the summer vibes, I guess you would say. And so, yeah, I'm a busy guy. I do this day and night. I hit the gym for about 4 or 6 hours, and then I train other people for another, I don't know, 4 or 6 hours. Is that impossible? No, because there's not enough hours in a day. But with that being, and I have BA rooted and I have all this other stuff going on. But that's what you call unleashing your inner beast, man. No excuses. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. It's what you choose to do with those 24 hours. All right, let's get to some of your questions. And Tommy Huxley is all over the Jets gang again. Jets gang coming back. He says, oh, there's a lot of questions here. All right, there's some questions here as to, well, here we go. Forktail Devil P38J, 1,000 yards running backs only matter in fantasy. Jets gang says how it only matters in fantasy. So I guess they're having a debate on fantasy football as it pertains to real football in regards to a 1,000-yard rusher in the NFL. Interesting take. All right. Forgot a guy called Ed had a question in the BEASTwriter family. He said, hey, Mr. Larger, he was no longer here. Who would you rather face, Trey Lance or Jimmy G? I think his answer, I don't know what his answer would be. That's a good one. That's a good one. Nomadic Brian here from the Colts fan base here in the BEASTwriter family. Mahalo for joining. And he is a Colts fan, so welcome him, everyone. Obviously, we have fan bases from all 32. We have Jets fans in here, obviously, 49er fans, Colts fans, Steelers fans, Panthers fans, you guys get the picture. Cardinals fans. All right. He says, give me an Office Space anytime. Office Space, where's my red stapler? That's what I know. Where's Milton? Give me my red stapler. I want to find that stapler because everyone should have that in their office at their desk. If you have a red stapler, odds are you're gonna want to know what Office Space is all about. Office Space was a great movie. And yeah, can't go wrong with Office Space. Office Space was one of the great movies of all time. With who was in that movie again? Gosh, the girl's friends, Jennifer Aniston. Duh. All right, yeah, great movie. If you can just do that, that would be great. All right, guys. So let me just pop on ESPN, NFL Network right now and see what's going on there. If there's any news to report, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. If you guys haven't heard, the NFL is going to unveil a bid system to host the NFL Combine. Now, we had Derek Larger on here from the Colts fan base. As you know, the Indianapolis Colts home field or home turf was the actual site for the NFL Combine. But starting in 2023, that's going to change because now you can bid on where that site's going to be for that particular year. And this is Dan Graziano from the ESPN news team has reported. He said the NFL has informed its teams that it will accept bids from cities other than Indianapolis to host its annual scouting combine beginning in 2023. A source confirmed on ESPN on Wednesday, or to ESPN on Wednesday. According to the source, all NFL teams will have the opportunity to let the league know whether they have interest in hosting the combine as well as upcoming NFL drafts and Super Bowls. The combine has been held in Indianapolis since 1987. Since 1987. Now, man, that's like what, 33 years? That's 33 years, if I'm doing the math correctly, that the NFL Combine has been held in Indianapolis. Though only the medical portion was held this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the 2022 Combine is scheduled to be held there as well. Indianapolis is expected to make a bid to continue hosting the event, but starting in 2023, it will have competition. The Indianapolis Business Journal was the first to report the development, which is a result of the NFL's continued push to evolve its marquee events. The success the league has had in rotating the location of the draft in recent years is part of the motivation for trying the same thing with the Combine. Well, there you have it. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of that? I'm not sure I like it, but I don't know. Warrior Prayer says, is the StreamYard link working? Yeah, it should be working. Is it not working? Oh, sorry. There's a new StreamYard link. My bad. I put a bad one up there. How dare me? No wonder Runa's trying to clock in right now. My bad, Runa. I got your back. Here we go. The new StreamYard link. Go. This one is working. This is the StreamYard link. I got you covered. Enter the chat, Waruna Pereira, and let's talk football. All right. So, with that being said, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here in the BEASTwriter family as it pertains to ESPN news that's breaking. Breaking news, everyone. And the NFL itself on NFL.com. What do we have here? Well, basically nothing. It's nothing. It's oh, here's something. If you want to call this news, Falcons coach considers Julio Jones trade a win-win. Now, we had some interesting topics on this. We had ESPN NFL Nation reporter for the Tennessee Titans, Julio Jones, on here. We also had ESPN NFL Nation reporter for the Atlanta Falcons on here, and Mike Rothstein and Teron Davenport. So with that being said, we have to really dissect exactly what's going on here in order to really sift through what is being discussed. Here we have Waruna Pereira. How are you doing, Waruna? What's going on, bro? You have not been here in a million years. I am upset. Yes. Tell me why, because I know you work from home. I know where you're sitting at right now. I've been to your house. I know exactly what's going on, bro. Why haven't you? Where have you been? You've been working.
No, I because it was difficult to get jump onto your live stream during middle of the day. Usually I'm free after 5 o'clock, 5:30. So before that, it's sometimes I'm unable to find time. So I had a one session with John Jay. That was around like, yeah, we had a session.
Oh, you did. I saw that one. That was like 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, right?
2-3 weeks ago. Again, it was an evening time around 5:30 in the evening.
And he asked about us.
Yes. So that's the problem. I wanted to get on, but unfortunately the hours didn't match. So, but I always watched.
What?
I mean,
after you always watch afterwards. I know. What's the best times that you can watch or catch a live stream? Because you, what do you do? Are your businesses picking up now or what?
So basically, I'm in software industry. So I mean, my work hours are like from 8 to. I mean, it's flexible hours, but still, during middle of the day, it gets really busy. So I have to attend to stuff and all that. So that's the problem. After 5 years.
After 5 you're free.
Yes.
So what you're telling me is you actually have a life. You don't just tune into the BEASTwriter family because you have no. You actually have things to do. It's funny though. It's funny though because people will be at work and they'll be catching my live streams. Here's the funny thing about this. So I have friends who own high-tech companies here in the Bay Area, right? And so I told my friend I wasn't going to put him on blast, but I'm going to put him on blast. He owns a high-tech company. I'm not going to name the company. He caught 2 of his employees who follow me here in the BEASTwriter family on their phones watching me. And he took a picture of them watching me. And the people don't know this, and they're not going to get in trouble because he thought, he's like, you know what? Because it's you, I'll let them get by. On two separate occasions, and he took a picture of their phone, and it was me on YouTube doing a live stream with some guests, and I was like, oh my gosh. He's like, you know what? It's all good, dude, because really it's not that big of a deal, because if it was anyone else, I'd tell him to stop it, but because it was you, I was like, I'm gonna let it slide. I said, did you tell him? He's like, no. He's like, because then they're not gonna do it, and I want him to keep watching you. So literally, I thought that was hilarious.
That's funny.
But yeah, what's on your mind right now, man? What do you want to talk about before we go ahead and I hit the gym?
Yeah. So I mean, why do you think that 49ers just canceled all the off-season trainings and stuff?
I'll tell you. It's because they're afraid that players are going to get injured again, and it's going to create a bigger list of problems. I don't know if you caught. That's not a word. I don't know if you caught my live stream just right when it happened on the strength and conditioning problems. I said they were going to do it, and I listed the reasons why. One, because a big reason is because they're not dumb. Odds are someone was on the verge of getting hurt already, so they just didn't want to prevent that by not having practice. So if they have any other reasoning behind that, obviously what they're going to say the right things. Oh, well, we were thinking about it. And you really think they were going to think about doing that when they already have a 30-day break in between? Why would you cut it short? That it just. I'm in the industry, bro. I know. Like, come on, dude. No. I'm not buying it. And yeah, then why go bowling, right? Then they go bowling on that. And it's like, okay, well, what if someone gets hurt bowling? I mean, it's a sport.
Yeah.
People get hurt all the time playing basketball. I should know. I played with them during this time when there's the AB. So let's go play basketball. We go play basketball. Now, Randy Mueller was on. I don't know if you caught the live stream. Oh, you didn't because you were working. But check out the live stream today with Randy Mueller. You're going to want to watch that one, okay? You're actually going to watch all of them. But no, watch that one because, we had Randy Cross on, right? You saw that one.
Yeah, I saw that, yes.
There's parallels to why I have these guests on the show is because they have such great insight that no one else can provide. I don't want to spill the beans because I really want you to watch it. But what Randy Mueller was saying is during that time span, it's probably the highest anxiety for a GM during that span because you have no control of what these players are going to do, right? And players get hurt. Players get in trouble. Players get shot at.
Yeah.
Right? We've seen it.
Yes.
What happens? Oh, reckless driving. Oh, this guy was DUI. Oh, DWI based on the state. Oh, has a firearm in his car. What? Frank Clark had a firearm in his car. What's going on there? See, all these things are just like, what's going on? But it happens, and it happens more times than not. That's why if you're a GM right now and you're watching this live stream, you're probably telling yourself, man, when's the next phone call? Because I don't want any phone calls. When it's silent, it's good. But once that phone call rings, odds are it's not a very good phone call.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's why I'm saying that. But as it pertains to strength and conditioning, yeah, that's a huge problem because at the end of the day, I think it falls on Dustin Perry's shoulders. Now, people can say, well, he comes from, not a football background. Well, I don't care about that. I care about, do you know how to get these players ready and have the functional strength and the competitive strength to where they're not breaking down during the course of a season and then injuries happen that way. Because when you lift weights, you're tearing down the muscle fibers. So what people don't understand is you're not making those gains inside the gym. You're making those gains outside of the gym. So for me, because I know this, because I know people in the NFL circle, and I talked about this earlier, they're working for the physical therapy company. I should know this because the guy who's working on them is my childhood friend. Why didn't they have that in place before? That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. Why didn't they have any of these people in place before? Why are they going to these guys now?
Yeah, that's true.
You see what I'm saying? Now, I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus. I'm not going to name drop people, but I will say that is a real concern. And that's the what I'm trying to add is the value here in the BEASTwriter family is, again, the people who are in the know, right? Like we can speculate all we want, and you can have people, and we can make assumptions, but the concrete evidence, and if you really do enough legwork in exactly adding the value of answering your question, I'm going to be like, okay, Varuna had a question, so I really want to ask, and I really want the answer. I don't want this fluff. Oh, well, I think it's this, or I think it's that. You know, you want the answer, right? That's why you're here, right? Yeah. You want answers, right? It's like, why aren't the Niners good? Well, I don't know, because Jimmy Garoppolo sucks. Like that. Okay, so what does that mean? Oh, well, what does that mean? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I try to do my best to answer your questions because I knew once you were going to come on, you were going to ask me that question. So I was like, dude, I'm going to ask my friend. I knew. And I was like, I better ask my friend what's going on there. So, yeah, he gave it to me 100. Now I said I'm not going to name drop who that guy is, but that is what's going on right now. Yeah. So that's all I can say about that. But anything else you want to say before I let you go? Any other better information that you want here in the BEASTwriter family?
I mean, other thing would be now this situation going on that there is a huge debate that whether it's a Jimmy or Trey Lance. So what's your take on that? Because personally for me, what I think is if Trey Lance starts, then keeping Jimmy as a backup doesn't make any sense because he's too expensive to be as a backup. But the argument, I wrote an article about this because people are always bringing up that Jimmy took us to the Super Bowl, but the Rams, Jared Goff took them to the Super Bowl, but they decided they need a better quarterback who wins that game when it matters. So that's my same argument. If you take Jimmy and Jared Goff, they have the same exact stats. Jimmy has played fewer games because he was injured. Right. So I'm really looking forward to if they bring on Trey Lance soon as possible. I'm +1 on that side. So that's my take. So before you answer, I just wanted to explain.
Oh, no, that's good.
Where I'm coming from.
Yeah, that's really good. I will say this. I say what I went on air yesterday, right? And I talked to Randy, talked to both Randy Mueller and obviously Randy Cross and a few other people, Mike Yam. And I told them, what I was hearing, right? This is what I'm hearing. And it's very logical. Like Jimmy Garoppolo is the starter. Like anything else is clickbait. It's clickbait because at the end of the day, it's like you don't sit a quarterback to ride the pine with that contract. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter unless he has a really horrible season or unless he starts walking on the sidewalk and sprains his ankle. He's going to be the starter, right? Now, you can make a case on why that won't happen, but like I said, what I'm hearing out of San Francisco is, and again, just like with the whole Mac Jones, you guys know what I said about Mac Jones when national media was, but I said, don't believe that, believe me.
They got it totally wrong.
Right. So, and I got it right. Okay, cool story, right? But looking back, but here's another scenario, right? This is why you guys follow me. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter unless something vastly horrible happens. It's a non-issue because look, what's going to happen if Jimmy Garoppolo is not the starter and you insert Trey Lance as a starter week 1? Do you know the players on the team? How many people know the players on the team? Not very many. And how many people that know the players on the team know actually if what they're telling them is true? I will tell you this. The players on the team that I know and that I speak with have Jimmy Garoppolo's back. Now, am I saying that I want Jimmy Garoppolo to be the starter? No, I'm not on the team. This is what I'm telling you from some of the players on the team, right? They have Jimmy Garoppolo's back. It's no secret. George Kittle, right? George Kittle has Jimmy Garoppolo's back, and he should. As the leader of the team, he should say the right things. Now, is that how he genuinely feels? Probably, right? Probably, because he has his back. I think there's a huge connection there in that relationship. So if George Kittle's saying it, you think that's going to have a domino effect on the rest of the team, and it's easier to roll with a guy like Jimmy G than having a guy like Trey Lance who really nobody knows, and he's a rookie, and he needs time to develop. We talked about the Randy Mueller earlier, right? Developing kids who come out of the FCS conference, Division II, Division III conference, and then translating to the NFL level, right? It's not as easy as people make it out to seem. I mean, these are people who are in the know. That's why they come on the show, right? And that's why it's very important that when you say things, you better know what you're talking about, because at the end of the day, it's like okay, you're putting your credibility on the line saying that Trey Lance is going to be the week 1 starter. Well, if you're wrong, then you have no credibility, or what little credibility you had, right? Because now you're just fishing for topics, right? So that's why when Randy or anyone else comes on the show, whatever the case may be, and they provide insight, not on this topic, but any certain topic, you want to take that for what it's worth, because we're all constantly growing and trying to learn and trying to gather information in this age of information. So that's why I say it's very important who you follow, because you don't want to follow a wrong path and then believe something, and then you'll develop bad habits by following those specific people, right? Or vice versa, right? People who try to steer you in one direction and be like, wait, didn't you say this? Didn't you say that? Like, you have to take a stance at some point in time. And that's why I believe Trey Lance, unless Jimmy Garoppolo has a horrible offseason and Trey Lance just have an amazing preseason, right? Someone has to be the scapegoat, right? I talked about this. And ultimately, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan both know that if they were to roll with Trey Lance early on in his career, coming from the FCS and then now inserted as the week 1 starter, you're now tying yourself to Trey Lance earlier than expected, right? Furthermore, like I said, Randy Miller went on today, right? He talked about the top 3 quarterbacks. He said he didn't mention Trey Lance as being a week 1 starter. He mentioned Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, and Zach Wilson as the day 1 starters. Now, he didn't say that Trey Lance is not going to be a week 1 starter, but you would think, if from a former GM's perspective, if they really thought that, Trey Lance was that type of player where he could be NFL ready, he would be already inserted as the week 1 starter in other people's minds, right? So you see the perspective there. That's all I'm saying. Now you provide great insight, right? So now watch me be wrong. Now watch everything I said. Watch Trey Lance be the week 1 starter. Oh, BEASTwriter sucks.
No, I don't think so, because that's how it works. I think that's why national media got it wrong, because they think that they always have to be correct. If they off by 1%, they get offended basically.
Yeah.
So they have that ego and attitude. But I mean, when we come to a discussion with you, it's about, okay, what do you think? What we think?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not about being right or wrong, just to make the discussion, and you provide a valuable input. That's it.
Yeah.
So I think that's we all come together in this.
No. And it's nothing bad. And like I said, like, this is down. I talked about it in an earlier podcast. People are asking me, I don't think stupid questions, but questions are like, come on, dude, like, really do I have to answer this? I don't know who's fielding this other information, but I feel like it's like, if I'm not reporting it, odds are it's not going to happen. And I told you that from day 1, right? Yeah. Right now is downtime. Right now is a time where you're going to see a lot of clickbait, right? And I don't care about clickbait, but you're not going to find that here in the BEASTwriter family. If you want to go to other channels, or if you want to go to other news outlets and feel that clickbait, because I mean, it happens to me too. There's times where I want, oh, that's interesting, and I click on it, and I'm like, it's not even about that. Mel talked about it yesterday on the live stream. She's like, dude, like, that's why I follow you, is because all this other stuff, it's like, I click on it and it's not even that. They don't even talk about that. So it's not even reported when she reads that. So it's just like, what the heck is going on? Not honestly, I just stay in my own lane. She's like, have you seen it? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I just stay in my own lane. Here in the BEASTwriter family, I have too much going on, trying to get guests on the show and trying to build up the channel and the BEASTwriter family to where we can have people like you hop on, provide your 2 cents. And because, again, at the end of the day, no one really knows for sure what's going on. Now, I could 110% be wrong, but if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would bet that Jimmy Garoppolo would be the week 1 starter. What was your take in that article? And if you guys don't follow Marina Pereira, by the way, follow this guy on Twitter. What was your take in that article? I'm going to go ahead and read it now.
Yeah. So basically, it was published on si.com. So, okay. So my take was this now. Every time that people bring up the point that, okay, Jimmy took us to the Super Bowl in 2019, right? That was due to many factors, because the defense played well and he had some luck. Because I went back and watched some games again, like the Rams game, 20-7. Jimmy threw an interception right in the goal line. Pittsburgh Steelers game, Ben did not play, and we had like 4 or 5 turnovers. So it was I mean, luck was on our side most of the time, right? Now, the argument is, if that is the argument, why don't we make the same argument about Jared Goff? Jared Goff as a starter, his first 7 games in his rookie season, he went 0-7. Then when Sean McVay came on, his record is 42 and 20, almost similar to Jimmy. Then if you remove his last 2 seasons, his first 2 seasons is 24-7. So
Wow.
he was much better. I mean, including that Super Bowl season, he was much better than Jimmy's record. But Rams pulled the plug because Sean McVay was tired of having a quarterback who is not giving the advantage when it really requires. So that's what I think. That's what I'm seeing with Jimmy, because when it really requires, because the other argument that people make is that Jimmy missed one throw to Sanders.
Right.
The fact is he missed it. Joe Montana did not in that championship game. That's why we call it catch one. The Steve Young, he did not miss it. He made sure that we did not get humiliated by Brett Favre and Packers again. Alex Smith did it. So great players, when there is the opportunity that they need to rise up to the occasion, they did it. But Jimmy didn't. So that's what I think. When we have a quarterback that we feel, Kyle Shanahan talks about drawing plays when he was on flight and everything. So that's a direction why we should move with Trey Lance. Another thing is, I honestly do not believe that we are a Super Bowl contender in 2021.
Okay.
We need more pieces to get there. So that's why I believe we should walk away from Jimmy and start the new chapter. So
Got you.
So that's what I wrote about.
No, that's fine. So you're saying they should roll with Trey Lance instead of Jimmy Garoppolo and just start over right now? Because
Yes.
they're not a Super Bowl contender.
Yes.
I like that line of thinking. The reality of the situation is, because I agree with you. I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders like as they were back in 2019. Because I think their defense is going to take a hit with Robert Saleh not being there. Obviously, we don't know what's going on with Nick Bosa. The edge rushers aren't there in the interior because DeForest Buckner's gone. Obviously, the Colts guy was just on here, Derek Larger. So, but I will say this: when you look at things from a management perspective and a coaching perspective, do you want to be blamed for this draft pick that you just drafted by giving up basically you're mortgaging your whole entire future riding on this one player now on week 1? Or would you rather save yourself another year body of work to buy yourself one more year, just like Jimmy Garoppolo was given one more year? I always joked about that. That's why he's on there for one more year, because now you're saving face and now you say, okay, we're going to have time to develop. I don't want to throw Trey Lance into the Lions' den just yet because at the end of the day, he's not ready. That's the only thing I will say. And people will say he's smart, he's savvy, goes through these progressions. I get that. But again, we had scouts on here. We had former coaches and GMs on here. And we talked about this in depth. And they said, Ryan, you're right. When you go through your progressions and all of that, it's good, but it's not converting from the FCS to the FBS to even the Power 5 conferences that you face, like the Alabamas, the Auburns, and so forth. So yes, his aptitude to learn the offense may be there, but the curve and the competition that he's facing and going through his progressions, the game speed is a lot different. So that's why when people say these things and I see it and people are asking them, I'm like, oh my gosh, you just watch the live streams. Like, or if you don't have time to watch it live, watch it later, but you're going to want to watch it because that's why I always say, be in the know before they know. Otherwise you won't know. So, and it's not coming from me, it's coming from them, right? You don't have to take my word for it, but this is why I have these guys on here, because I want you guys to really see from their perspective, because I'm not a scout, right? Obviously, it'd be something that I think I'd be good at, but I'm not a scout, right? My job is an insider analyst, just like everyone else, or a reporter, or someone who's, like you, trying to be aspiring, whatever, right? We're all on different levels, but we're all doing the types of same things. So with that being said, credibility comes from these people who are already in the industry. They've been there, done that. They say, look, Ryan, you are spot on in what you're saying. Or look, Ryan, yeah, that may be true, but and then now you can kind of build knowledge that way. So that's why I say I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter week 1. Now time will tell, but yeah, I think it's his job to lose in 2021. And you make it a great point, though. I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders today because there's a lot of missing pieces on the defense side of the football, especially if the pass rush can't get home. Runa Pereira, thank you so much for tuning in. I know you got to head out, but I got to check out that article, and I will give you your feedback here in the BEASTwriter family, and I'm sure I'm going to love it. So
Okay. Thank
keep
you
up
very
the strong
much.
work. All right, man.
Okay.
Mahalo, man.
Okay. Have a good night.
All right, you too. That was Runa Pereira. And now we have John J in here. John, how you doing today?
Yeah, man, I just got home from work because I'm back working.
Oh, there you go. Where you at?
Huh?
Where you at?
Oh, this is the San Francisco Recreation Park logo.
There you go.
I told you, I've been working there since I was 14 years old.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you told me.
Yeah. So
how you been? So
man,
besides work, no wonder you haven't been posting, bro.
Yeah, it's like for me, YouTube is fun doing what I'm doing, but what I do is more fun because I'm like with the juniors, like the high school, teaching them, the sports. So it's really fun. It's really fun, And I wanted to talk about something that Raruna was just talking about, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo situation. And I'm going to look at it just like how I do my job and say I have a very talented kid, 14-year-old. He's a really good pitcher, but I have another pitcher who's pretty good, and he's been following my pitching system, baseball stuff, and I got to deal with those parents. The parents are like the fans. No, John, you got to put those my kid in because my kid's a number 1 pick, blah blah blah. I say It doesn't work that way. So one thing that I will say is that Trey Lance needs to develop, and when he develops 100%, he will take that job. It's not going to be week 1. I do agree with you. One thing I've been saying since January, Jimmy Garoppolo's week 1. Week 17, we don't know. So let's take it 1 week at a time. We'll see what happens. I do agree with Raruna. He thinks everything outside the box. Shout out to that dude. I'm very thankful he came on my show a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And thank you. I appreciate you giving me love too. I watched. I was like, what? That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I was on yesterday, Jack Hammer, one of Cohen's boys.
Yeah.
And we had a discussion, and I told him straight up, I would like to see Jimmy Garoppolo play, and we had a discussion. He had his opinions. I had my opinions. Yeah. And one of the things that I like, your show and the way I do it is that let's not just listen to one voice or one article and say, all right, we got to do this. Because just like you said, the teams. Oh, sorry.
No, good.
So Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they have to make those tough decisions. Yeah. It's not the most popular decision, but if Jimmy proves everybody right, it's helpful for us. We win games. That team is happy. The teammates, like you mentioned, George Kittle, they're all going to be happy. But if you take away that locker room dynamic, the players will still play. They don't care, but are they going to be like, should we really have faith in the direction that our coach is? We're putting our bodies on the line. They're changing things up, things like that. So let's slow down and let's look at it in a very positive way. Let's try to say this. We don't want Jimmy Garoppolo to get hurt. If you're one of those guys, I want him to get hurt because I don't want him, because I really want Trey to go in. Let's be positive. Let's be a little bit, like for me, I worry about Nick Bosa. You said that Nick Bosa could be a defensive player, caliber,
I did.
So let's, hopefully Nick Bosa, proves me, and hopefully that prediction comes true. And I want, everyone who says, that Jimmy will prove everybody wrong, because I'm tired of 4 years and one winning season, so that's how I see it.
Yeah, no, you bring up great points. And the thing I want people to take away is, no one voice is greater than another's. If you're so close-minded, just like with scouting, right? You haven't caught it yet, but watch Randy Miller's interview, his live stream earlier. He talked about it. It's like you have to listen to everyone, right? Whether it's scouting, whether it's talking about football, right? You want to feel field information, right? Because information, just having the tunnel vision saying my opinion trumps yours, now you just have this tunnel vision where it doesn't even matter what other people say because you're not valuing the input, right? And I feel like that's the wrong thing to do. Even if you disagree with somebody, doesn't make it any less significant because you could be wrong in your analysis. I could be wrong in my analysis. Now, does it happen often? No, but it does happen. So if I was just saying 120,000% that everything that came out of my mouth was 100% fact, then I'd be doing myself a disservice and giving my viewers a disservice and giving my BEASTwriter family a disservice, because at the end of the day, it's like, you're not God. Everyone's trying to play this role of God and no one is God, right? Not trying to get all religious, but you get what I'm saying. No one is perfect. No one is perfect. Show me a perfect man and I'll show you 10 other people, right, who aren't even in that discussion. So it's like there's no one perfect, right? So it's like at the end of the day, it's like I value people like you who come on the show, say what you have to say. And I don't like calling it debate. You know, when you talk about, it's not a debate team back in high school. Oh, I want to debate you. It's like, dude, calm down. Let's have a discussion, a healthy discussion about it. And that's what we try to provide here in the BEASTwriter family, home of the good vibes only, where we have all 32 fan bases locked up into one. So John Jay, thank you so much for tuning in. I know you're working, but hop on that YouTube whenever you have time, man, because you were doing a good job. I don't want that go to waste and all that talent to go to waste, because you do have the passion, and just keep going strong and you'll be there in no time. So keep going, bro. That's all I got to say to you.
And then anyone who's watching, you know, if you're from the Colts, from I think I saw a little bit when I was coming home, there was a Colts guy. I'll rewatch that again. If you're from, you know, any other fan base, or if you're a 49er, let's get my boy Beast at 3K. I really want him to, you know, be, you know, one of these guys that not just talk about my favorite team, but, you know, the community. You know, there's so many NFL, you know, people that want to get some good information, and BEASTwriter, I approve. He knows all 32 teams. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, Beast, for having me on.
All right, John Jay, take it easy. Mahalo, my man. You have a good day. All right. We are about to wrap this up because I got to hit the gym and I got to get in my, 4-hour workout. I'll be working out till 10 p.m. and then coming back and then providing more bookings for BEASTwriter family members to hop on the show so we can keep the BEASTwriter family channel hot and going all the time. In fact, breaking news here in the BEASTwriter family, if you want to call it breaking news, we have my man from NFL Network, Omar Ruiz, hopping on the show tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to kick off with that. I'll also be hopping on a 49ers live stream on their channel just to support them and show them some love. I think these kids are going to do a great job. You guys may have heard of them. I'm going to post them up on the community page as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. We are keeping things hot here with uploaded videos. If you guys want to see some tidbits of what Randy Mueller had to say, the great GM, 2000 GM of the year for the New Orleans Saints, was the vice president of player personnel with the Seattle Seahawks. I posted some videos on that. You guys want to see some Randy Cross stuff, I posted that whole entire interview there, along with a sneak peek of what to expect from that interview. So a lot of talking, a lot of writing, and we're just going to keep things hot. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to this live stream. Again, I got to get my gym workout, so that'll be it for tonight. Thank you so much. BEASTwriter out.